The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was a dazzling spectacle of light and sound. Representatives from countless star systems, resplendent in their finest attire, mingled and laughed as they celebrated their victory over the humans. The war had been long and costly, but in the end, the Council's superior technology and vast resources had proven too much for the primitive Earthlings to overcome. Amidst the revelry, a hush fell over the crowd as the Council's leader, Supreme Chancellor Zorkol, took to the podium. His silver robes shimmered under the brilliant lights, and his voice boomed through the hall. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Zorkol began, his tone triumphant. Today, we celebrate the end of a conflict that has tested our resolve and unity. The humans, in their foolishness, dared to challenge our authority. They refused to submit to our rule, and they paid the price for their defiance. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, the sound echoing through the cavernous space. Zorkol basked in the adulation for a moment before raising his hand for silence. But let us not forget the sacrifices we have made to achieve this victory, he continued, his voice growing somber. Many brave soldiers gave their lives to defend our way of life. We honor their memory and pledge to create a future worthy of their sacrifice. As Zorkol spoke, a commotion rippled through the crowd. A figure, cloaked in a dark, hooded robe, was making its way through the throng of dignitaries. The council's guards moved to intercept the intruder, but the figure pushed past them with surprising strength. The hooded figure reached the base of the podium and looked up at Zorkol. The Supreme Chancellor, his face a mask of confusion and anger, demanded, "Who dares to interrupt this sacred ceremony? Reveal yourself at once." The figure reached up and slowly lowered its hood, revealing a human face. Gasps of surprise and outrage filled the hall as the figure spoke, its voice clear and unwavering. "I am Ambassador Ilara Vestas of Earth," the human declared, her green eyes blazing with determination, "and I come bearing a message from my people." Zorkol's eyes narrowed. "The war is over, Ambassador. Your people have lost. What message could you possibly have for us now?" Ilara's lips curved into a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "A warning, Supreme Chancellor. You think you have won, but you have only seen a fraction of our true potential. Humanity has been holding back, biding our time until the moment is right." The crowd murmured, a sense of unease settling over the hall. Zorkol scoffed, his tone dismissive. "Empty threats from a defeated enemy. Your world lies in ruins, your people scattered and broken. What true potential could you possibly possess?" Ilara's eyes flashed, and for a moment, the Supreme Chancellor felt a chill run down his spine. "You will see soon enough," the ambassador said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Humanity comes seeking justice, and we will not rest until we have it." With that, Ilara turned and strode from the hall, the crowd parting before her like water. As the doors swung shut behind her, Zorkol felt a sense of foreboding settle over him. He looked out at the sea of faces, seeing his own uncertainty reflected back at him. The celebrations had been halted, the joyous mood replaced by a palpable tension. Humanity's warning hung in the air like a dark cloud, a promise of retribution yet to come. In the days following Ambassador Ilara Vestas' ominous warning, an unsettling atmosphere descended upon the Galactic Council. At first, the Council's leaders dismissed the humans' words as a desperate bluff, a last-ditch attempt to sow discord among their ranks. However, as strange occurrences and inexplicable events began to plague their cities, doubt and paranoia crept into the hearts of even the most stalwart council members. It started with minor malfunctions in the council's advanced technology. Communication systems glitched, displaying cryptic messages before shutting down entirely. Automated defense grids flickered on and off, leaving entire sectors vulnerable to potential attacks. The council's best technicians worked tirelessly to identify the cause of the malfunctions, but their efforts yielded no answers. Rumors began to circulate, whispers of humanity's secret weapons and powerful allies. Some spoke of a hidden fleet of Earth's ships, equipped with technology far beyond anything the Council possessed. Others claimed that humanity had forged alliances with ancient, long-forgotten races, beings of immense power who had been waiting for the opportune moment to strike against the Council. As fear and uncertainty gripped the populace, the Council's leaders scrambled to maintain order. Supreme Chancellor Zorkel, determined to uncover the truth behind the rumors, dispatched teams of spies to gather intelligence on Earth's activities. The spies, posing as traders and diplomats, infiltrated human space, hoping to uncover any evidence of humanity's supposed secret weapons. Meanwhile, on the fringes of Council space, reports of strange sightings began to emerge. Pilots spoke of vast, uncharted regions of space where the stars seemed to bend and twist, defying the laws of physics. Explorers stumbled upon ancient ruins of long-dead civilizations, their walls covered in glyphs and symbols that hinted at a power beyond comprehension. As the Council's spies delved deeper into human territory, they encountered an unsettling phenomenon. Entire human colonies, once thought to be under the Council's control, had vanished without a trace. The spies found only empty settlements, their inhabitants gone, leaving behind no clues as to their whereabouts. The disappearances fueled the growing paranoia within the Council. Some speculated that humanity was secretly amassing an army, drawing upon the populations of these vanished colonies. Others whispered of dark experiments, of humans unlocking forbidden knowledge and harnessing the power of the void itself. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, a single message began to appear, scrawled on the walls of Council buildings and broadcast across hacked communication channels. It was a simple phrase, repeated over and over again: "Justice is coming." The Council, once confident in its superiority and control, found itself grappling with an enemy it could not see or understand. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and as humanity's influence continued to grow, the Council's grip on power began to slip. In the shadows, Ambassador Ilara Vestas watched the Council's mounting unease with a secret smile. Everything was unfolding according to plan. Humanity's true potential, long hidden from the galaxy, was about to be unleashed, and the Galactic Council would soon learn the true meaning of justice. In the heart of the Galactic Council's most heavily guarded research facility, a covert human strike team moved with precision and purpose. Led by Commander Raven Valdez, a veteran of countless battles against the Council, the team had one objective: to secure the advanced technology that would turn the tide of the coming war. Valdez and her team, each member handpicked for their unique skills and unwavering loyalty to Earth, navigated the facility's labyrinthine corridors with ease. They had spent months studying the layout, memorizing every security checkpoint and potential choke point. As they approached the central research labs, the team split into two groups, each tasked with a specific target. The first group, led by Lieutenant Axel Tanaka, breached the lab housing the Council's latest propulsion technology. The scientists inside, caught off guard by the sudden intrusion, could only watch in horror as the humans swiftly subdued the guards and began downloading the schematics and research data. Meanwhile, the second group, under the command of Sergeant Zora Ivanov, infiltrated the lab developing advanced weaponry. The sight that greeted them was beyond their wildest expectations. The Council had been experimenting with a new form of matter-antimatter weaponry, capable of destroying entire planets with a single shot. Without hesitation, Ivanov and her team secured the prototype and its accompanying research. As the two groups reunited and made their escape, they left a trail of chaos in their wake. Alarms blared, and confused Council security forces scrambled to respond. But by the time they reached the labs, the humans were long gone, vanishing into the shadows as if they had never been there at all. News of the breach spread like wildfire through the Council's ranks. Supreme Chancellor Zorkal, his fury barely contained, demanded answers. How had the humans managed to penetrate their most secure facility? What other secrets had they stolen? Amidst the Council's scramble to assess the damage, disturbing reports began to surface. The spies sent to gather intelligence on Earth were disappearing, one by one. At first, the Council assumed they had been discovered and captured by human forces. However, as more spies vanished without a trace, a chilling realization took hold. This was no ordinary counter-espionage operation. The Council's intelligence network, once a web of eyes and ears spanning the galaxy, was unraveling. Spies who had spent years deep undercover were gone, their fates unknown. Some whispered of a powerful psionic entity, a being capable of erasing minds and bending reality to its will. Others spoke of a secret human organization, a shadowy cable that had been manipulating events from the beginning. As uncertainty and paranoia gripped the Council, the humans pressed their advantage. Rumors of Earth's growing alliances with other species, once dismissed as baseless speculation, began to gain traction. The Council's attempts to rally support from its vassal races were met with hesitation, and in some cases, outright defiance. The balance of power was shifting, and a galactic council found itself on the defensive. The humans, once considered a primitive and insignificant species, were revealing themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. As the council struggled to adapt to this new reality, one thing became clear. The true nature of humanity's capabilities was only just beginning to be unveiled. The first appearance of humanity's genetically enhanced supersoldiers on the battlefield sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council's forces. These warriors, the product of decades of clandestine research and experimentation, were unlike anything the Council had ever encountered. Standing over 7 feet tall, with muscular frames that rippled with barely contained power, the super soldiers moved with a speed and agility that defied belief. Their reflexes were lightning fast, their strength unmatched, and their endurance seemingly limitless. But it was their minds that truly set them apart. Each super soldier possessed a genius-level intellect, their brains enhanced to process information and adapt to new situations at a rate that left the Council's strategists reeling. They were master tacticians, able to analyze and exploit the weaknesses of their enemies with terrifying efficiency. On the front lines, the super soldiers tore through the Council's defenses like a hot knife through butter. Their advanced weaponry, seamlessly integrated with their enhanced physiology, allowed them to strike with devastating precision. The Council's troops, once confident in their technological superiority, found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed. As reports of the super soldiers' victories flooded in, the Council's leaders grew increasingly desperate for answers. They turned to their intelligence network, hoping to uncover any information that could help them turn the tide of the war. What they found instead was a conspiracy that threatened to unravel everything they had built. Deep within the Council's own ranks, a group of sympathizers had been working in secret, aiding the humans in their quest for justice. These individuals, driven by a belief in the Council's corruption and the need for change, had been funneling information and resources to Earth for years. Among the conspirators were high-ranking officials, military leaders, and even members of the Council's inner circle. They had used their positions to manipulate events, planting the seeds of discontent among the Council's vassal races and weakening the Council's grip on power. As the Council's leaders scrambled to root out the traitors, they faced a daunting realization. The corruption ran far deeper than they had ever imagined. Trust between Council members eroded as suspicions and accusations flew. Paranoia gripped the halls of power as everyone from lowly bureaucrats to the Supreme Chancellor himself came under scrutiny. The conspirators, sensing that their time was running out, made a bold move. They reached out to the human forces, offering vital intelligence on the Council's weaknesses and proposing a coordinated strike against key targets. The humans, recognizing the opportunity to deal a crippling blow to their enemy, agreed. As the Council's forces clashed with the super soldiers on the battlefield, a series of devastating attacks rocked the heart of the Council's empire. Key infrastructure, including communication hubs and supply lines, were hit simultaneously, throwing the Council into chaos. Amidst the confusion and infighting, the humans and their allies pressed their advantage. The super soldiers, now bolstered by the intelligence provided by the conspirators, struck with renewed ferocity. The Council's once mighty fleets were decimated, their armies scattered and demoralized. As the dust settled, the true extent of the Council's vulnerability became clear. The conspirators, having played their hand, emerged from the shadows, pledging their allegiance to the human cause. The Council, its power structure crumbling from within, found itself on the brink of collapse. The war had taken a decisive turn, and humanity's victory seemed all but assured. But even as the Council's leaders scrambled to salvage what they could, they knew that the true battle was only just beginning. The secrets and lies that had sustained their rule for so long were unraveling, and the price of their hubris would be paid in blood. As the Galactic Council's forces reeled from the devastating attacks orchestrated by the human conspirators, Supreme Chancellor Zorkol made a desperate decision. With his empire crumbling around him, he turned to the one option he had hoped to avoid: the deployment of forbidden weapons. Hidden away in secret vaults scattered across the galaxy, these weapons were the Council's last resort. Developed in the depths of the Council's most clandestine research facilities, they harnessed the power of dark energy, capable of tearing apart the fabric of space and time itself. Zorkol, his pride and arrogance blinding him to the consequences, gave the order to unleash these weapons upon the human forces. But as the Council's technicians prepared to activate the first of the weapons, a shocking betrayal unfolded. Admiral Zephyr Vex, one of the Council's most respected military leaders, revealed himself as a double agent. For years, he had been working in secret with the human resistance, carefully positioning himself to strike at the heart of the Council's power structure. With a swift and decisive action, Vex and his loyal followers seized control of the forbidden weapons cache. In a daring sabotage operation, they destroyed the weapons before they could be deployed, dealing a crippling blow to the Council's last hope of victory. As news of the betrayal spread, the Council descended into chaos. Accusations flew, and long-simmering rivalries erupted into open conflict. The once united front of the Galactic Council fractured as individual factions sought to secure their own power and survival. Amidst the turmoil, a new player emerged on the galactic stage. The Zarkani, an enigmatic alien race long thought to be little more than myth and legend, revealed themselves as allies of humanity. For centuries, the Zarkani had watched from the shadows as the Council's corruption and tyranny grew, biding their time until the moment was right to strike. The Zarkani, masters of advanced psionic technologies, had been instrumental in the success of the human resistance. They had aided in the creation of the genetically enhanced super-soldiers, sharing their knowledge of mental enhancement and telekinetic abilities. Now, with the Council weakened and divided, the Zarkani stepped into the light, ready to join the fight against their ancient enemy. As the Council struggled to regroup, the combined forces of humanity and the Zarkani launched a multi-pronged assault on key Council strongholds. The super soldiers, their ranks bolstered by the psionic warriors of the Zarkani, tore through the Council's defenses with ruthless efficiency. Planetary governors, once loyal to the Council, began to defect, pledging their allegiance to the growing coalition of free races. The Council's vassal species, long oppressed and exploited, rose up in rebellion, joining the fight against their former masters. The tide of the war had turned, and the Council found itself on the defensive, its once vast empire shrinking with each passing day. But even as victory seemed within reach, a new threat loomed on the horizon. Reports began to surface of strange anomalies occurring in the depths of space. Entire star systems vanished, swallowed up by an unknown force. Whispers of an ancient, malevolent intelligence, stirring from its slumber, spread like wildfire through the ranks of both the Council and the Resistance. As humanity and its allies stood on the brink of their greatest triumph, they faced a chilling realization. The true battle for the fate of the galaxy was only just beginning. The Council, desperate to cling to power, would stop at nothing to maintain its hold, even if it meant unleashing horrors beyond imagination. In a last-ditch effort to turn the tide of the war, the Galactic Council's remaining leaders gathered in secret, deep within the heart of their most heavily guarded stronghold. Desperate and facing the imminent collapse of their empire, they turned to an ancient and forbidden ritual, one that promised to summon a powerful cosmic entity capable of destroying their enemies. The ritual, long banned and forgotten, required the sacrifice of countless lives and the channeling of immense amounts of dark energy. The council's leaders, their minds twisted by fear and desperation, believed that they could control the entity, bending it to their will and using its power to crush the human resistance. As the ritual began, the very fabric of space and time began to warp and distort. The stars themselves seemed to flicker and dim, as if recoiling from the unnatural energies being unleashed. The council's stronghold shook and trembled, its foundations cracking under the strain of the cosmic forces at play. But something went wrong. The entity, a being of unfathomable power and malevolence, refused to be controlled. It lashed out, its tendrils of darkness engulfing the council's leaders, twisting their bodies and minds into grotesque abominations. The stronghold, once a symbol of the council's might, became a nightmarish labyrinth, filled with the screams of the damned. As news of the council's disastrous ritual spread, panic gripped the galaxy. The entity, now free from its ancient prison, began to consume entire star systems, its hunger insatiable. Planets were dragged into the void, their populations erased from existence in the blink of an eye. Humanity and its allies, already battered and weary from their long struggle against the Council, found themselves facing an even greater threat. The Zarkani, their psionic abilities pushed to the limit, worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the entity, searching for any weakness that could be exploited. The genetically enhanced super soldiers, their minds and bodies pushed beyond their limits, fought with a savage determination against the entity's twisted minions. The battlefields of the galaxy became a nightmarish landscape as the forces of humanity and its allies clashed with the eldritch horrors spawned by the entity. Amidst the chaos and despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. The Zarkani, delving deep into their ancient archives, discovered a long-forgotten technology, one that could potentially harness the power of the cosmos itself. The device, known as the Nexus, was said to be capable of channeling the energies of entire star systems, focusing them into a single devastating weapon. Humanity and its allies, in a desperate race against time, began construction of the Nexus. Scientists and engineers from across the galaxy worked tirelessly, pouring their knowledge and resources into the project. The super soldiers, now the last line of defense against the entity's advance, fought with a renewed sense of purpose, buying precious time for the Nexus to be completed. As the final components of the Nexus fell into place, the entity sensed the threat to its existence. It marshaled its forces, launching a massive assault on the Nexus construction site. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, as the full might of humanity and its allies clashed with the cosmic horror and its minions. In a moment of supreme sacrifice, the remaining Zarkani psionic warriors channeled their life force into the Nexus, activating the device in a blinding flash of light. The Nexus, its power now unleashed, tore through the entity's defenses, unraveling its very essence and scattering its atoms across the cosmos. The galaxy, battered and scarred, had been saved from annihilation, but the cost had been high. The Zarkani, their numbers decimated, retreated into seclusion, their ancient debt to humanity finally paid. The Council, its leaders corrupted and its empire shattered, ceased to exist as a coherent force. Humanity and its remaining allies, their bonds forged in the crucible of war, now faced the daunting task of rebuilding a galaxy ravaged by conflict. But even as they began the long process of healing and restoration, they knew that the scars left by the entity's rampage would never truly fade. The war may have been won, but the memories of the horrors they had faced would forever haunt the survivors. The galaxy had been forever changed, and the echoes of the cosmic battlefield would reverberate through the ages, a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity and the sacrifices made in the name of justice. In the aftermath of the cosmic battle that saw the defeat of the malevolent entity, the galaxy lay in ruins. The once mighty Galactic Council, its leaders corrupted and its empire shattered, had ceased to exist as a coherent force. The Zarkani, their numbers decimated by the activation of the Nexus, had retreated into seclusion, leaving humanity and its remaining allies to pick up the pieces. As the dust settled, the survivors of the war came together to forge a new path forward. The old order, built upon the Council's corruption and tyranny, had been swept away, and in its place, a new galactic order began to take shape. At the forefront of this new order stood humanity, their sacrifices and unwavering determination in the face of unimaginable odds earning them a position of respect and admiration among the galaxy's inhabitants. The genetically enhanced super soldiers, once feared and reviled by the Council, now serve as the guardians of peace, their strength and integrity a symbol of hope for the oppressed and downtrodden. The principles of justice, equality, and self-determination became the guiding light of the new galactic order. Planetary governments, freed from the yoke of the Council's oppression, were given the autonomy to chart their own destinies, with humanity and its allies serving as mediators and peacekeepers. But the road to recovery was long and arduous. The scars left by the war ran deep, and the wounds inflicted upon the galaxy's psyche would take generations to heal. The once thriving trade routes lay in shambles, and entire star systems had been ravaged by the entity's rampage. Humanity and its allies, their resources stretched thin, worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been lost. Engineers and scientists from across the galaxy pooled their knowledge and expertise, developing new technologies to aid in the reconstruction efforts. The super soldiers, their combat skills now turned towards peacekeeping and humanitarian missions, provided aid and protection to the most vulnerable populations. As the galaxy slowly began to heal, new challenges emerged. The power vacuum left by the Council's collapse gave rise to opportunistic factions, each vying for control and influence in the new order. Pirates and raiders, emboldened by the chaos, preyed upon the weak and unprotected. Humanity and its allies, determined to maintain the hard-won peace, worked tirelessly to quell these threats. Diplomatic efforts were launched to bring the warring factions to the negotiating table, while the super soldiers, now a symbol of unity and strength, stood ready to defend the innocent. As the years passed, the galaxy began to thrive once more. New alliances were forged and old rivalries were laid to rest. The memory of the war, and the sacrifices made by so many, served as a constant reminder of the importance of unity and cooperation in the face of adversity. Earth, once a backwater planet dismissed by the Council, had become a beacon of hope and inspiration for the galaxy. Its people, tempered by the fires of war and hardship, had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. The legacy of the super soldiers and the brave men and women who had fought alongside them would be remembered for generations to come. As humanity and its allies looked to the future, they knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The galaxy was a vast and unpredictable place, filled with both wonders and dangers. But they also knew that, together, they could face any challenge that lay ahead. The war had taught them the true meaning of unity, of the strength that could be found in diversity and cooperation. And as they set forth to explore the stars, to forge new bonds, and discover new frontiers, they did so with the knowledge that they were not alone. For in the face of adversity, in the face of impossible odds, humanity and its allies had proven that there was no force in the galaxy that could stand against them when they stood together. The future was bright, and the possibilities were endless. Years had passed since the end of the Great War, and the galaxy had settled into a new era of peace and prosperity under the watchful eye of humanity and its allies. The Victory Anniversary celebrations, held annually on Earth and across the liberated star systems, had become a symbol of unity and remembrance, a time to honor the sacrifices of the past and reaffirm the commitment to a better future. But even as the celebrations reached their height, a dark shadow loomed over the proceedings. On the eve of the anniversary, an assassination attempt was made on the life of Earth's leader, a figure who had become a symbol of hope and inspiration for the galaxy. The attack, carried out by a group of masked assailants, was swiftly thwarted by the vigilance of the genetically enhanced super soldiers who served as the leader's personal guard. But the incident sent shockwaves through the galactic community, raising questions about the stability of the new order. As investigations into the assassination attempt deepened, a chilling truth began to emerge. The assailants were not lone extremists or fringe elements, but rather part of a larger conspiracy, a secret cabal of Galactic Council loyalists who had been plotting to overthrow humanity's rule and restore the old order. The conspirators, led by a shadowy figure known only as the Architect, had spent years infiltrating key positions of power and influence across the galaxy. They had bided their time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and the victory anniversary celebrations had presented them with the opportunity they had been waiting for. As the scope of the conspiracy began to unfold, humanity and its allies found themselves facing a new and insidious threat. The Council loyalists, fueled by a deep-seated resentment and a desire for revenge, had amassed a formidable arsenal of advanced weaponry and technology, much of it stolen from the vaults of the old regime. The galaxy, still healing from the wounds of the previous war, teetered on the brink of another conflict. The super soldiers, once again called upon to defend the innocent, found themselves stretched thin as they battled the Architect's forces on multiple fronts. But even in the face of this new adversity, humanity and its allies refused to back down. They rallied their resources and their resolve, determined to root out the conspiracy and bring the Architect and their followers to justice. The battle that followed was one of subterfuge and shadows, fought not on the front lines of space, but in the halls of power and the backrooms of diplomacy. The super soldiers, their skills honed in the art of warfare, adapted to this new battlefield, working alongside intelligence operatives and political leaders to unravel the Architect's web of deceit. In the end, it was the strength of the bonds forged in the crucible of the previous war that proved to be the Architect's undoing. The unity and trust that had been built between humanity and its allies, the shared commitment to a better future, allowed them to weather the storm and emerge victorious once more. The Architect and their conspirators were brought to justice, their plots unraveled, and their power base shattered. The galaxy, shaken but unbroken, reaffirmed its commitment to the principles of the new order, to justice, equality, and self-determination for all. As the victory anniversary celebrations resumed, the mood was one of somber reflection and renewed determination. The attempts to undermine the hard-won peace had been a stark reminder of the fragility of the new galactic order and the constant vigilance required to maintain it. But as humanity and its allies looked to the future, they did so with a sense of hope and purpose. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger for it, their bonds tempered by adversity and their resolve unshakable. The galaxy had been forever changed by the events of the past, but the future held the promise of new adventures and new challenges. And as long as humanity and its allies stood together, there was no obstacle they could not overcome, no frontier they could not explore. The story of their struggle, their sacrifice, and their ultimate triumph would be remembered for generations to come, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who had fought for justice and freedom in the face of impossible odds. And though the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again.